My name is Bala. I'm a cloud solutions architect. I pretty much play a lot of role in that data and AI space, especially on the digital transformation side. So today I'm going to talk to you about how Microsoft is viewing this, and I have done few of those. So if you have any questions, please do ask. Put it in the chat window, and Ron, stop me wherever is needed. So I'm going to start with going to go through and explain like what does digital transformation means, right? We are not doing traditional IT here, but it's why we are doing it, and let's go through that first, and then I'll show you how Microsoft is framing the platform towards that. As you know, as you say, like what is digital transformation? Digital transformation is just not us doing some migrations or changing systems or doing anything that in IT, but we are looking at digital transformation as the whole, as a company, as an enterprise. Given the ever-changing world that we live in, what are we going to do? How are we going to transform ourselves? As you know, like a lot of small companies, they do this and they have been very hugely successful. For example, the latest digital transformation that I've always been seeing these days are like the products which we used to sell, which were licensed and things like that, are now going into the subscription model. Even the consumer goods are most of it are going into that service-based model. So there is a reason behind it, right? Like the consumers and the customers are driving that, and they're asking for it. So the industry has to change. So we're looking at digital transformation as vision and strategy, not only that, culture, and also how unique potentials are getting generated with new opportunities where they can tap in and build more revenue generation model, and how can they figure out new capabilities that can come in the market space. That could be applied to any part of the organization. It doesn't fit just only to IT, but it also covers the entire company's business units. Now, let's talk about some use cases. Like, okay, I was talking to you about a lot of these, what digital transformation is like. So we'll take a use case for Unilever. Unilever, as you guys know, they're a manufacturing company. They do a lot of consumer-based products, and they have plants all over the places. And what they were struggling is like they were struggling to get not only real-time insights, near real-time insights, and also ability to scale. In the traditional world, we used to have a mini data center in all these places, and that seemed to be very cumbersome in terms of maintenance, and there is a huge investment cost. And once you buy a rack of servers, then for the next 10 years we don't touch it. So the innovation was also very less. So to argument that, cloud came, and as you guys all know, cloud actually, you can scale as you need. I'm not going to say it's infinite scale. You can scale as you need in a controlled fashion or an automatic fashion. The cloud provides you that. But now there is also a need where certain decisions has to be taken very close by to the vicinity itself. Given the latency going in between locations and internet, there were needs that they wanted to take some decisions locally. So that's where the hybrid concept actually came. It's basically an extension of the cloud in a very smaller footprint, sitting in your own co-located data center. We have a couple of different form factors of stack devices that I'll talk to you about later. So what did it made them do? So Unilever were able to create a digital twin, real-time three-dimensional representation of their plant and what's happening in the plant, and provide visibility not only to the plant but also to the corporate office. Now that was the transformation they did because they were moving towards like the products as a service concept rather than selling products. So that's basically the use case. And now let's go look at like why we are doing this digital transformation and what is these hybrid scenarios are. As you know, we all are very familiar with what cloud has done to us. It kind of changed the entire landscape. After the cloud, there was this huge boom coming into the marketplace, which is the IoT, which is another technology that is actually transforming a bunch of vertical industries, and the whole thing is completely changing, including devices like Alexa and Google Assist, even our consumer devices like your phones, your cell phones, and PDAs and things like that. And then came the edge concept, which is where the hybrid started merging. This is where they wanted to do like a little bit offloading of the compute closer to the device, but this is by any means, we don't want to create a data center. Next wave came is the AI world. Now this is where things are getting very, very, very interesting. A lot of things are being used in AI. Technology is now affordable, and it's also compute power is available. And that is leading into digital twin. Now, digital transformation means just not doing something new, but figuring out how you can use all these combination of technology and rebuild your entire business, which is why culture becomes an important part in the previous slide that you saw. Does that make sense? Okay, so now let's look at what is digital transformation. So digital transformation is nothing but all these four loops. Basically, the main thing is like, how do you engage with your customer? How do you transform your products? How do you empower your employees? And how do you optimize your operations? Now, all these things come together forms the digital transformation. Empowering employees is very important. This is something that even in Microsoft, we actually opened it up, and we allowed our employees to take data-driven decision, which means we gave the data to them, and they can actually analyze it and take decisions and figure out like, hey, how can I make myself better? The employees were able to automate and do their own analysis with the data, and they were able to be much productive, especially in this COVID world, remote. This thing became very powerful. Now, not only that, if you do that, that's one part of it. Next is like engaging with your customers. How can you figure out like what your customers are doing? Can I analyze what the customer behaviors are? What are they more interested in? Just doing analytics is not anymore. How can I personalize it and meet everybody's expectation is becoming super critical these days. So those are some of the things that is transforming the engagement side, which is basically the customer side of it. And that drives more sales. Now, the third pillar is going to be your transforming the products. How is products itself is getting transformed? This is where we grow from a licensing model to become like an service-based model. How do we continuously bring in new technology, and how do we actually provide users with like low code, no code development so that they can iterate fast and build new products and services based on customer feedback. So this is also another way of how things are getting transformed. Then the fourth pillar is going to be your optimizing the operation. So this is something that everybody has done. We are driving this with our not only with our data platforms, but we are also helping you use our Azure machine learning services and derive your own insights as we all know, like any footprint, any corporate footprint is just not Microsoft. You're probably going to have a lot of other companies and other clouds and other vendor products that you can bring all the data together and really make some sense out of it and figure out what is your best action is going to be. We are also means to provide like doing that in a very near real-time basis as well. Now let's talk about what is Microsoft is looking at in the hybrid world. So here is where the current landscape is. We have multi-cloud. We do also have some on-premises. A lot of the customers that I see are trying to migrate, but they are also looking at modernizing the application. What is modernizing? It means it's like we have to re-platform some of our traditional apps to become more cloud native app that can actually scale without any issue. I mean, you can scale an old app. It just takes time and it takes a lot of money and people and processes that are involved in it. So to ease that process, how can you handle that and extend to cloud? And then the edge. Edge is something very interesting these days. Edge can be there is an IoT side, there is an edge, which is like combines with AI. AI and IoT is kind of merging in that edge concept. The reason is like a lot of vision-based and audio-based AI systems are getting deployed, and it needs the compute closer to what it is looking at. It could be a plant, it could be a retail store, it could be a hospital bed or a patient's room, or it could be an operating floor, whichever it is, right? Now we all know that these local on-prem and edge devices can only scale to a certain level. So look at what is that edge can do is what we are targeting to what edge is like. We're not going to take entire cloud and push it over there. That's not the case. Edge is going to be as an extension for cloud for very minimal simple processes, and we are also providing it as a service offering for that. So as you see, cloud, multi-cloud, and then you have the on-premises, and then you have the edge, which all these three comes together to form what Microsoft's hybrid strategy is going to be. This is where we have actually have few services. I'll start with the basic ones. The best one is your Arc. Arc is basically like what we have is an multi-cloud, multi-platform deployable like a scripting language that can allow us to deploy Windows and few of the Azure services. Now we also have like Dynamics 365. We also bring in like DevOps technology to it. I'll talk to you about other few common things that we can do. Basically, Arc is going to provide you the capability of like taking it and installing it either in any of the clouds, especially Azure, AWS, and such. And you can also get our hybrid on-premises like Azure Stack, which is like a rack server, and you can actually deploy that in your own co-located data center. If you have some healthcare customers, they have this need for HIPAA compliant or federal might have saying that no, we can't move to cloud, you have to keep it locally. So you can do that with that extension of Azure Stack. And then this Azure Edge is what we call Azure Stack Edge. Stack Edge is nothing but one use server, and we have few other form factors like you can carry like a small box kind of thing. These are edge devices that usually collect IoT data, or it could be doing inferencing on an AI application to take intelligent decisions. They're not a huge footprint, but they're not too small. It's a decent size one new rack service we have. We also have like a simple like a desktop style as well. Now the stack for the on-premises, that's more of an hardware that you can get it from like Dell, HP, Cisco, now and other vendors. They provide you the hardware, and we provide you the software that runs on it, so that you have a seamless, seamless usability and user interfaces between our cloud and these devices. That's basically where our hybrid strategy is. On top of it, as you can see, all of these three segments, not only that, we're also providing you management, security and identity, apps and data services, and also DevOps tool to manage development lifecycle or manage infrastructure lifecycle and things like that. These are getting added, and we are actually expanding this footprint. So let's look at what's one of the best part of our hybrid story is, like the management layer. So we do realize that a management layer needs monitoring, updates, backup, security, ability to deploy, ability to do lifecycle management, ability to figure out vulnerabilities and things like that. And as you know, Microsoft puts a lot of money in security, which we'll talk later. But the management plane is also very critical, because we want to make sure that what you see in the cloud mimics the same in the edge, so that we don't have any mismatch. Like, for example, if you log into the portal and if you decided to create a VM, you will see the same how you're creating in the portal. You will see that in the device as well. We are also doing some of our PaaS services, and we are trying to push that down to the edge also. We are providing you RBAC subscriptions, the same templates and extensions you can use. We are opening up the governance and policy with blueprints, and you can also tag everything to it. And this, all these things comes together using what we call as the Arc. Arc is going to be our engine, and from Arc you can actually deploy to multi-cloud, and you can actually manage and monitor everything. Right now we can do Kubernetes, VMs, Azure, SQL MI, SQL servers, SQL Server in Linux, containers, and things like that. And that portfolio is getting increased as we go. Now, most of our marketplace images will also start following the same thing. So I'm hoping that they will also follow our Arc and hybrid strategy. Now let's look at the most everybody's looking at. Not only that, we're also providing you security. This is a very key aspect of Microsoft. We literally spend like $1 billion a year in annual investment just for security, cybersecurity. We have about 3,500 like security experts. They look at it, they analyze it in 100 different ways. They do fraud detection. They kind of look at like the behavior analysis and see like, hey, is there anybody trying to spoof? What's going on? So, and not only that, we are also taking that and providing it as our services to our customers. So we are trying to give you that through like Microsoft threat detection. We can actually provide like this is part of like Azure Sentinel. Sentinel is our one umbrella where every Microsoft services will combine and get the logs in. So you can actually do security in one place rather than looking at different products. And you can set tools. It's got some recommendation methodology that it does. We just don't only do the VMs. We are also looking at like multi-cloud. Not only that, we are also looking at how are we going to provide for our PaaS services as well. So it will be like a one-stop shop that you can come and do end-to-end security. This covers hybrid and cloud as well. Now, this is another view how you can see like what Azure Security Center does. Look at the center round, the round locked area. And you can look at the surrounding things. It covers like application domains. It covers the networking side of it. It covers RBAC policies, auditing, like who's accessing what. It also covers compute. Computes are the VMs that you create. Like, hey, is it what is happening in a VM? The health stats, or is it like somebody else is trying to log in? Somebody's trying to do DDoS attack or something like that. So all of those things, including for IoT devices, which are growing in a super fast-paced. SQL is another one. SQL has got like threat detection. It has vulnerability assessment detection, and it also has in SQL we have AI inbuilt in it to tell you like how can it improve the performance as well. So things like that. Like we don't want databases, everybody accessing the database, right? We wanted to make sure that proper security and controls are in place. And then containers. And we also do continuous monitoring, and we provide you insights. And this becomes your single, I call it as like, the organization's operation center. That one place that you come and find most of your, like SOC, Security Operations Center. That's this particular one. And then comes the other ones that we had, DevOps and Dev tools. As you know,
Bala,
Microsoft is,
Bala,
yeah.
One other thing I just want to point out is that it's very exciting to see all of what Microsoft is doing to help secure the infrastructure and so many things. But there is limits to what Microsoft can do. So I encourage you to remember that there is this shared security responsibility model. In the end, there's always going to be three major buckets. There's going to be understanding what Microsoft and the other hyperscalers are doing, which is incredibly powerful. Then there's activities that many end users need to be responsible for, which is very much ensuring the integrity and own the data per se. And then the third component is the whole world of the Microsoft or AWS security ecosystem and third-party security vendors who can complement what Microsoft is doing and what you as end users are doing. And you just need to be aware of those three components in coming up with your overall security strategy, be it on-prem, be it in the cloud, or be it a hybrid or even a multi-cloud architecture.
Agreed. Yep.
Okay.
Now, to add to what Ron was saying, the next one that we are looking at is like the DevOps. In recent days, I mean, everybody's hearing like, oh, you're going to do infrastructure as a code. I think this DevOps is very normal if you're a software developer or an engineer, which is most of my background. So we have done something like this SDLC, ALM for a long time. I think this is coming into that infrastructure world. And we are also trying to do this in a hybrid scenario. So anything that is going to come, we're just not going to only restrict you to the cloud, but you're going to open it up for the hybrid scenarios. And since we have GitHub, so we can actually store your code repos in a very protected way. And then you can actually use our Azure DevOps to deploy. And we have like 100 or 150 or so connectors that you can connect to everywhere and deploy and bring it in. We're also looking at that also in a more multi-cloud fashion. Now, some of the customers that you can see, they are already using our Azure hybrid scenario in some way or fashion. I have been part of some of this implementation as well. We are not saying that hybrid means you're going to create a data center. That's a big no-no. We are saying that hybrid is it's an extension. If you need it, use it. Otherwise, leverage the cloud because scale is going to be a problem no matter what. And then finally, I'll give you this is our CEO's basically mantra. This is what we are trying to do. We are trying to make everything easy as possible so that everybody can achieve more by doing more. Here is my contact. I do also have, so I have 5 minutes here. So if you want, I can show you.
Hey, Bala?
Yeah.
I would say if you've got some demos, why don't you take about 10 minutes to illustrate several of these clients that you've worked with, and maybe you can go into a little detail on how they've actually made and deployed these solutions.
Correct. So I will come here then. Don't have a demo, but I'll share this videos and links with you guys to show this. The stack edges and it's like a data. The noise is super crazy. So here is one of the company. These guys are actually they're doing like chip manufacturing and trying to figure out how to optimize a manufacturing process. Now, the challenge in manufacturing is like they have done it using like photographs, and this is basically like a predictive maintenance kind of use case. How do we predict the quality of the product? But they can do that with very high-tech devices. There are devices that are made especially for these to do all these kind of things. Now they took a different approach to see like, hey, can I do this quality control by using photos? Can I use AI into the picture? Now, image processing in AI is an if you would have followed the technology trend, it's fast paced right now, and it has become very, very, very usable at this point of time. So you can take an image and you can actually train them with a bunch of images, and then create like a model that can do a certain specific thing. I wouldn't say that everything is going to do. Not everything can be achieved, but one particular use cases you can take it. Like if you can look at the quality, and it can take a picture and say whether this is actually is meeting the spec. Is it good or bad? Whatever visually that a human eye can see, that is exactly what they were going after. Now the challenge was they had it done with external systems and all. They had a bunch of photos, so they were using the cloud to create the model. Now running the model, creating the model in the cloud makes sense. When it comes to the inferencing, like to apply to the real time as the factory is producing this and they wanted to do the quality on the floor, that's where the challenge started. The reason is like now you have to take a picture, you have to send it across the internet, and there is network latency that is available, goes there and gets its code and comes back saying like whether it is good or bad. Now that started causing delays. So what we did is like they took our Azure Stack Edge. We have Stack Edge in FPGA and GPU. This was the beginning, so we used FPGA in here, and which can do actually 30 frames per second in inferencing and actually producing results out, like telling whether it is good or not. These models are based on TensorFlow ResNets. That detail, if you need, let me know. So what they did is they took that, it's a Stack Edge device, and we were able to only deploy the inferencing model there. It was a very small footprint, like about 350, 400 megs kind of footprint, the brain, and then we were able to score it over there. So now this was able to do like about like 10 predictions a second, and they were very happy about it. And they were able to replace like a couple of thousands and thousands of dollars machines using AI. So that's the power that CRE was using. The second one, this is the next one. Let me go to the next one. This is an interesting use case. Esri, here they're using, what they do is like they use the drones, and they actually fly around, and they take pictures, and they actually give coordinates. And here it was more not much on the AI side of it, but we were using it for like storing the images locally so that they can actually pull up the image, zoom, and see what's going on, and how to like figure out like different geographical maps and stuff like that. That's the S3 one. The next one is an Airbus one. Ron, when it is time's up, just let me know. Airbus, this is a new innovation they're doing. They're also trying to figure out like, okay, how do we take the compute and put it in close to command centers and expand. They are looking at, since it's an aircraft and all, they have IoT, AI, and crazy amount of data that they collect. They are looking at putting some of the edge components to do like AI-based predictive maintenance and score it in the flight itself. So now that's another use cases. And then we have a couple of more. I can get this to work. So this is Malta is doing very similar. They're also doing the same thing. Canadian. These are all human-based, like smart cities and smart buildings approach they're doing. This is also another one. If you guys need anything detailed, let me know. I'll get some real case studies that we have done with these, so I can provide you details.